Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Pete and this is a 5-minute Bags of Action review of Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021. The epic next chapter in the cinematic Monsterverse pits two of the greatest icons in motion picture history against one another, the fearsome Godzilla and the mighty Kong, with humanity caught in the balance. So having watched this, I'm now fully up to date with the Monsterverse, having finally dived into the 4th chapter in the saga. This one was directed by Adam Wingard, who also directed The Guest and Death Note. And interestingly, there's two different sets of writers. So there's story credits for 3 writers who I imagine were involved with it earlier on. So Terry Rossio, who also wrote Deja Vu and The Lone Ranger. Michael Dougherty, who also wrote X-Men Apocalypse, and he also wrote and directed Godzilla King of Monsters, and Zach Shields, also from Godzilla King of Monsters. So I'd imagine those 3 people were working on it, with Dougherty expected to return as director. For whatever reason, that didn't work out, so they were replaced. And if you've heard my episode on the last film, Godzilla King of Monsters, I'm pleased that the writers have changed, and you might be able to hear in that why. So they were replaced, and the screenplay was actually written by Eric Pearson from Thor Ragnarok and soon to be seen finally Black Widow, and Max Borenstein, who wrote Godzilla and also Kong Skull Island. So he's been involved with 3 of the 4 films on the screenplays. There's a strong cast in this. You've got Alexander Skarsgård from The Legend of Tarzan and Hold the Dark. Millie Bobbie Brown returns, who was also in Godzilla King of Monsters and is most well known for Stranger Things. You've got Rebecca Hall, who's always really good. She's been in Iron Man 3 and The Prestige. Brian Tyree Henry from Widows, Hotel Artemis, and I know him best as Paperboy in the TV series Atlanta. Sean O'Grady from No Longer Human and Diner. Eiza González from Baby Driver and Hobbs and Shaw. Julian Dennison from Hunt for the Wilder People and Deadpool 2. Lance Reddick from the John Wick movies and White House Down. Carl Chandler returns. He was also in Super 8, of course, and was in, as I say, Godzilla King of Monsters, playing Millie Bobbie Brown's father. And Demian Baker from The Hateful Eight and Machete Kills, along with a lot more people. There's quite a big cast in this one, even though it's a monster movie. So I went into Godzilla vs. Kong with mixed feelings. And not just because of the price it cost to watch me at home. In previous episodes I talked through the 3 previous films, and they were an uneven bunch. I liked Godzilla, I loved Kong Skull Island, and I just about enjoyed Godzilla King of Monsters. Now for me, I wish there had been a second Kong standalone film before they brought the 2 alpha monsters together, but as the Kong movie was set in the past, I can kind of see why they didn't. Now, my main concern going into this was that the last film had the weakest characters and plot, and some of those characters returned here, as I said. Was it going to be as patchy as that film was, especially with some of the characters coming back? But I needn't have worried. They straddled the balance between big monster action and story much better here, and part of me thinks that's partly because Borenstein was back as one of the writers. Now, the film was a big improvement on the last one. The story actually made some sense, and there were 2 different human sides to follow, which made it less formulaic. You had the characters following Kong, and those and actually working with Kong, and those tracking Godzilla. Now, the Kong parts of the film were far more interesting for me, and I almost forgot the other bits of the movie existed at times until we returned to those trying to show that Godzilla was still a hero. For me, Kong is the heart of this film. I guess it's because he's so close to being human that you find it much easier to empathise with him than I certainly did for Godzilla, even after 2 Godzilla's films being in the series before. Now, the fights between the 2 behemoths, as you'd imagine, are brilliantly done. They're technically excellent and also spectacular, while giving strong characterizations to the 2 monsters, Kong especially. That giant ape sure does take a number of beatings, and he keeps going somehow. You can't help but feel for him after the injustices that are piled upon him in this movie, and then cheer for him every time he manages to get back up, almost like a huge, hairy version of Rocky. Now, I know a few people have said that this is the weakest of the 4 films so far, but I really strongly disagree. For me, other than Kong Skull Island, I think this is my favourite and one of the most fun. It's certainly a massive step up, as I say, from Godzilla King of Monsters, which I really struggled with. But the humans in this story did things which I actually believed, whereas in King of Monsters, you only really thought they were doing things to serve the plot. So I'm not really sure what they'll do in a fifth movie, but based on my experience of this one, I will watch it if it does get made. So it's never going to change your world. It's not as interesting for me as Kong Skull Island, but as far as big monster movies go, I think they did a lot of things right. And based on that, I'm going to give Godzilla vs. King a very solid 3 bags of action out of 5. Have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong? Do you agree with my assessment of it? Feel free to comment below or get in touch with us via email, Facebook or on Twitter. We have new episodes coming out weekly, including our full-length podcast. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to get notifications. Bags of Action will always be free. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do that at our Ko-fi page.